Hello and welcome to another edition of Heroes and Generals Q&A live from Reto-moto headquarters in Copenhagen. I'm Reto.Gargamel, and with me is Game Director Reto.RedBjarne.
Hello.
And without further ado, I will jump into today's topics. We're going to cover some news and the usual forum questions, and also some questions from the live chat. And to start with, there's a new update that's been released. And well, before then, we actually have solved the recent server issues. I think that was mentioned before in the last week's stream, but as promised, we decided to make it up to the players that have been so patiently waiting for us to solve everything with the servers. So we have a 30 days free veteran membership voucher that's been sent to everybody. In case you didn't see the in-game mail, the voucher code is 30-day veteran, but you should see it in your email, in your in-game email. This being said, the new update 1.09 has been released yesterday. It includes some level design tweaks that were based on your feedback, and 9 new helmet paints, which are the first step in having custom headgear. There's more to come in that department, and also we have new vehicle paint jobs. We tweaked the muzzle smoke and some of the light settings also. You can find in fact an overview of all the changes in the changelogs section on our webpage. I think I'll show that later where to find it. And we added this new feature, which is a bulletin screen, and we have some updates to the user interface. Am I loud enough? Yeah, good. And in other news, we have our first Reto Insider Summit this Saturday, so some of our players are coming to visit in the weekend.
They can enter the premises,
yes,
but they can never leave.
Yes, we are going to, of course. We are going to sacrifice them to the elder gods.
The server gods.
To the server gods. Yes. The server gods demand a sacrifice of blood. But yeah, I'm speaking fast because today we will have a shorter Q&A and Y session due to preparations for said Insider Summit. So we want to jump into the questions as soon as possible because we still have tons of them.
We're busy.
They keep coming.
So
I think Jakob RedBjarne wanted to say a few words about the feedback we've been getting.
Oh yeah. I've been looking a bit at the forums for the feedback for the deploy update. And as much as I like that there's some feedback, I would definitely like some more feedback. I think it's kind of like I would expect some more from you guys. Please continue the feedback, and we'll bring up the subject once more to see where it lands. Yeah, that's about it. I think.
Questions?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I should say anything about the current status on the deploy system. Just want to make at least one thing clear about the system is that it seems that a lot of players think that it's going to be something that we put on top of the current system, but in reality, you should think of it as right now in the game there is actually a timer system in place that. So you have to wait some time before you can deploy, and you have to travel, and you have to pick up your gear and all that stuff. And we have lots of timers in the game in a somewhat cluttered system where it's a little timer here and a little timer there. And you should see the deploy system more as a consolidation of that system into a system that allows us greater flexibility, rather than putting stuff on top of that was definitely not the intention of the system to have even longer waiting time. It's a system that allows us to use the deployment time better than we have right now.
To fine tune it.
To fine tune it, yeah. Right. Yeah. So you should, and it seems like a lot of players are thinking, oh, it's going to be even more restrictions, and it's actually not restricting. It's taking a system that's already in place and you can say like tidying it up and making it simpler and making it easier for us to actually
to visualize also, right?
Yeah,
to see
exactly.
why exactly there's a time delay.
Yeah. So it's not. It's definitely not more restrictions because it actually opens up the game some more. We allow players to switch vehicles and switch soldiers and switch roles and stuff like that. And the system can be used to, if we say that we don't want you to insta switch to a super powerful class from another class, for example, then we can add a small time delay to even it out. So you should think of it more as a balancing system that's replacing a system that's already there, making it more flexible instead of a huge evil system. That
Punishment.
Extra punishment. It's definitely not that. So with that in mind, I hope you will, because there is some good comments in there, I think, of how have you thought about this and what happens in this situation and this situation, and that's kind of like the feedback we're looking for is that, okay, how is this system gonna work in this and this situation, and we can discuss that and figure out if it's a hole in the system or if it's something that just needs to be tweaked or taken into account whenever we implement it.
Discuss.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
So we jump into the sea of questions.
The sea of questions.
So first,
are we going for the forum questions first? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, because they waited their turn. So, but we're gonna take some live chat questions at the end. Teeth and Crumpets is asking, when it comes to the strategy game, when can we see a significant update to it, not only in performance but also features? That's a when question.
It's a when question. God damn it. Soon?
Yeah,
no. It's not so soon. I don't know.
I should have a paper that says that soon, so we can actually.
I can. The first larger feature that is in our current roadmap that involves the strategy game is the implementation of the tank-only or class-specific battles on the war map. That has to do, and in that respect, the way supply line battles is triggered will be rewritten to allow for a lot more battles in parallel to be started. Because I think right now the rule is that if only infantry meet on a supply line, then we trigger an encounter because that only has infantry in it, and everything else would be a random skirmish with whatever resources is allowed. And obviously, we only have one battle per assault per supply line, and usually you would have a mix of different units on those supply lines, which would mean that if we just continue using our current system, you would almost never see tank-only war battles, which would be a shame. So a draft design has been made in order to facilitate that. I can say roughly the system would say that you just have all the resources that are clashing on a supply line will be pooled into a system, into a pool, and you say the battle system will then start multiple battles in parallel, extracting the needed resources for a certain battle. So if there's a lot of tanks, then we'll see, okay, there's enough tanks to start a meaningful tank versus tank battle. That will be started. If there's a lot of infantry, okay, then we'll start an infantry encounter, and so on. So we can start multiple battles.
So on the same supply line, there would be
more battles,
parallel battles.
Yeah.
How would the outcome be decided then?
The outcome will be, basically, I think I should do a whole song and dance about that for a Twitch session.
Okay, so
we have some rules in place. It would take a few times. It will take some time to explain it. I think it's better if I have a presentation or something I can go through. But basically, you would have it would be like a tug of war type system where if one faction wins a battle, you will move closer to the winning, and if you lose, you will move the other way. And the first faction who reaches like the end of sort of like
they ring the bell, basically.
Yeah, a bar. You would say, okay, they win, or then actually no new battles are started So it gives the defenders or the guys who are about to lose the time, the opportunity to actually have a comeback and bring down the tug of war thingy. But I need to show it on an illustration to be able to explain it properly. But it would in theory go on as long as there's resources available to starting up new battles. So
that's one feature. Is that that would be the first one?
That would be the
people
first one.
would
Yeah.
see. Okay.
And the next things would be we are in 2018 of hopefully something that has to do with the better handling of air units, being able to attack.
Intercept,
teams.
right?
Interdiction is called, but also air versus air-to-air combat. But mainly that ground units on a supply line should be able to detect, or ground units anywhere should be able to detect enemy aircraft in the area, and vice versa. Aircraft should be able to detect units on a supply line. So. And then obviously we've been talking about there's a lot of stuff that we want to do with the war game, but the whole refactoring stuff and the following server problems has obviously illustrated that it's not easy to just change such a huge system overnight.
But actually, is it something we can elaborate on? Like, how far are we in the refactoring in terms of? Because I guess that's probably pretty much what the players are asking.
Yeah, I would not put any date on anything yet, other than the whole vehicle update that we're working on right now. That has several different features in it. The update of the supply line battles is part of that.
Okay.
That update.
Okay.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to release the tank versus tank game modes, other than staged battles, which would be kind of a shame.
So soon.
Yeah.
Soon enough.
It would, though, it would create a lot more. That system would create a lot more battles in the war, though. So we should consider moving. You say, instead of having a lot of staged battles, that a lot of those could actually just be battles on the war map in the new system, because it's equal, or we have control of the resources in those types of battles.
So you can create balanced.
Yeah, so they will be somewhat more balanced than normal.
That is very clever. So I guess, can we move on to the next one? Because I mean, yeah.
Well, we could also just have a
because we could do an entire session with just the first question. So that's why let's call it answered. Draco France is asking: is it possible to make the games at least 30 versus 30 players? Maps are huge. There's a lot of space between two capture points. It's completely open and generally with less than 30 infantrymen. I'm not sure what that means, but because of that, it feels really empty with no true gunfights. Moreover, more infantrymen would allow better tactics. Most of the time, captured points are empty, not defended, because there are too few people playing the objectives.
I would like to have more action in the battles as well. I think right now the cap is in there to assure that the game will run okay. It's more like a network issue, a server issue, than it's actually the amount of players in the game. And because the game is structured in a way that we always have the possibility to switch to vehicles, then we have to lower the bar a bit, because if we had 30 versus 30 players and everybody decided to spawn in a tank, then the game would just run really slowly. So that is kind of like the top level explanation of us not upping the player count. Once in a while, the programmers who are responsible for the network code is sort of revisiting the whole thing to see if we can optimize it a bit more to up the player count. So if it's possible, obviously we'll do that. We also have the opportunity to start adding bots in some of the areas to have something to shoot at. That's something that I at least would like to see more in the game, simply because it creates it's just another game element.
When you add a bot, does it take as much resources as having a live player?
We have two different types of bots right now, and the one that's currently on live will actually take a lot of resources on the live on the server. So right now we can't even fill up the game with bots without stressing the servers. But at least that is only a matter of optimization and cutting out some stuff, the prediction and everything. They don't need all the fancy features that a human player needs.
So basically, the bots would so they would have a simpler kind of model.
Exactly.
Right.
I saw Reto playing around with some code the other day where they can drive cars. It looked pretty funny that it kept overshooting its target, so it kept going back and backing up and trying to run back and forth.
Basically, somebody learning to parallel park.
That looked totally funny, but it's great if they can. It's great if, for example, in a tank versus tank battle, that you actually have some other vehicles that you can shoot at that's not human players. So I think it's adding the bots will be it has a great potential for adding more filling to the game. I'm not too sure about the 100 versus 100 human players. That might be super chaotic rather than.
Where did you see 100? The game was like saying 30.
I mean, there's some games out there that say, we can have like 1 million versus 1 million players at a time.
Yeah, I've seen that promise made. I haven't seen it as in
I think the more stuff you want to add to that players should be able to do, the more data you have to send, and that just puts a pressure on how many players you can actually have if you want to have a nice low ping.
Right. So I guess that's answered. Holy Sigma is asking, when can we expect any war map changes? I guess that's a lot like the first question we answered. It could also be interpreted as just changes to the actual layout of the war map. I think now because of all the problems with the servers, we haven't really had time to dig into those numbers. But I think I have half promised to take a look at some of the choke points for at least for the German faction. Because of those changes is what is
as soon as we get back on track and get the various fixes that we've been making on Wargame, then I'll go back and look to see if we need some adjustments here and there. So.
All right. Thank you for that question. Next one is Mr. Mandel is asking, we've all seen the decline of players last 6 months, which is quite alarming. If you try a search on Steam or Google for World War II games, Heroes and Generals doesn't even show if you don't look hard for it. If this declining influx of new player continues, there soon won't be a player base left. How about you guys make some PR drives for the game to attract new players?
I think that's more like a question for our PR guys than for me. Right now, we've actually made the decision that we are working on, you could say, more core mechanic type stuff for the game. We are you have already heard a lot about the armor update and everything, but we also internally going through our tool chains and our tool sets in order to be able to produce the game faster and make new maps and everything. So at the moment, we're not too focused on bringing in new players. Obviously, that reflects in a falling player base, but it's definitely not something that we anticipated. We just don't want to go out and make a big splash if we don't really feel that we have something new to show. So that's a short answer for it. That we are working on core mechanics and stuff that hopefully should make the whole game better when we eventually get it out there.
Right. Next question is, actually I was about to skip one here. Voodoo Guy asking how, sometimes they screw with my head with the inversions. How will assault teams change in the 2.0 version of the strategy game?
First of all, I can safely say there is no 2.0 version of the strategy game. There's only incremental improvements to the game. So this 2.0 nonsense there's not, we're not going to release like, oh, this is a new string, and we're just going to add features as we go along. But that said, the update or the upgrade to assault teams that we have been discussing, I can also show that here on the stream because it's still in the design kind of phase, is to have a system where you have your level on your assault team. Your assault team levels up, and the higher level it is, the more, you say, like customization points you have to include various units that fall into the category of the main category of your assault team. That means, for example, a heavy armor assault team would no longer be a heavy armor assault team. It would just be an armor assault team, and it would be defined of what kind of units you put into it. So you would be able to have an armor assault team with some tank crew in it, and some light tanks and some heavy tanks, and maybe some anti-aircraft defense, or whatever you would like to stick into that assault team that fits, or that you have points to do. So it's kind of like the main thinking about this. So you can mix and match some more stuff into an assault team, make it larger. So,
right. Next one, Sir George is asking, when will you turn off the auto resolve? It's been 2 months since you changed the capitals, and the results are clear. Germany now have a chance to get Kiev in the beginning of the war.
Great.
I don't understand what that part of the question is supposed to mean in relationship with the auto resolve. What does Kiev have to do with the auto resolve?
I'm not really sure I understand either. I think it's because we said we would do the changes one at a time for the strategy game, and as I actually mentioned a few minutes ago, all the trouble with the servers, we haven't been looking at any of the data while the trouble was on, because we would like to have some sort of clear data, but I think we are at the point now where we have that. We can see we have some recorded wars, and we can start to look at the data, and we can even show it to you guys. So I think we should do that and get on with it and get that the next test of the auto resolve switched off and see if it has an effect. So,
all right. Next one, Zoron is asking, why do you consider pilots the most important class in the game? He elaborates, you allow the exaggerated credits earning by untouchable fighter pilots for shooting defenseless paraplanes and empty cars, giving also radar vision to see vehicles through clouds. But I guess, he says you acknowledge that you would have done something about it.
Yeah, it's moved on in the task list in here. Right. I think it's the guy that needs to make the changes. It has it as a task right now. We actually discussed it discussed it on Monday.
Just to recap, what the X-ray vision is like, you can see some smoke through clouds. Is that it?
I don't know what he means by that, by the X-ray stuff. But I only know the thing that we're going to adjust is and unfortunately for those pilots out there, we're going to lower we're going to nerf the income or the credit earning or the XP earning for pilots simply because they are too high. It's not as easy as just making a number smaller, but it is. So we need to have the correct metrics out of the game in order to adjust the numbers correctly. You'd say like it might be like 30 different parameters that are used to define your score, or even more than that. So just lowering all of them might not be correct. It might be just one or two of them that's way too high. So we would only lower those two, and that would actually play out. So we need to figure out, or we need to get the data on what parameters are the most earning ones, and are they important for the game. Make a decision on that, because there are some metrics or actions in the game that we would like to promote. For example, the capturing of capture zones and playing more tactically rather than just killing players, killing enemies. So we need to be a little bit careful when we do it, but obviously it is something that we are working on being done. Right. Sorry it hasn't happened yet, but it is in the works. Again, when we say that we are going to change something or adjust something, some of the stuff is easy to do. It's just like a fix, and then the next deploy, there's a new number on the server. And some of the stuff we say will change is actually pretty complicated to do. So we need to be a little more careful before we do it. And sometimes it's the guy who has the expertise in doing it is busy doing something else. So everything has to be prioritized. It's not that we don't want to do it or we're trying to run away from the promise. It's just simply about a matter of time. Time and timing.
Right, next one, Host, the 7th, is asking, can we sell stuff, weapons, upgrades, vehicles, and whole characters? For example, I bought a pilot and got him another plane and some weapons, but then I realized I don't like flying, so I don't play this character anymore. Or, for example, when I want to sell a weapon with my infantry guy, maybe could we get like a 75% or sellback price? So yeah, that's about it.
That question has come up a few times before. I think it's administratively it's not really possible to do it in a good way without it being exploited. So I would say no. It's not something that we are planning on doing. Yeah, that's a short answer for that question. But if we were to do it, obviously it would be at a discounted price, also based on how much you used the weapon and stuff like that. So,
yep. Next one, Berkshire 10. That one I'll take that one. Because he says it's really it's my jurisdiction here. Can you release stats on which players have had the most erroneous cheating tickets submitted against them? I often find myself explaining that certain players are just good and not hacking, and it has made me curious about this stat. So it's I think an occasion to talk more about just cheaters in general. I made a list because I don't want to forget anything. Because
great.
So. Why we don't release any stats about that? We don't think there's anything positive to gain from publishing stats about who gets reported the most. And there's many reasons why. Well, the first one would be privacy. We don't comment on a player's ban status. We don't confirm if somebody is banned or not. And we don't have a wall of shame. So that's just not our policy. And on the other hand, you want to tell the players, see, these guys are reported a lot, they're not cheating. The guys who send the reports, they're convinced that they're reporting a cheater. So if we were to just make a whole like top 10 list of the guys who get reported all the time, that would just piss off people who are convinced that there's cheating. I mean, we, on our end, we have been doing the investigation. We know who's cheating and who's not cheating. But if we start saying like, this guy's reported all the time, he's okay. It's like, it's not
he's
gonna...
free to start cheating now.
Yeah, but it's kind of like saying we've whitelisted this guy, he's okay. And it's like, it's not the message we want to send. So we don't whitelist people, but there's some guys we've reviewed them many times at some point. I mean, we're not gonna tell you how many times we review a certain guy. We were just like, if a guy keeps getting reported, at some point we're going to take another look. But, you know, this being said, there's I would like maybe to like explain a little bit more, like, without getting into too many details, because there's a lot of security.
The guy wants details.
Yeah, but there's a lot of security aspects in this. So
I
know. I can say a few words about our anti-cheat measures. So. The cheaters that get caught by the automated system, they're not banned instantly. So we run ban waves, almost on a daily basis, but not always. And sometimes there will, for example, there'll be a new cheat out. We need to update the anti-cheat system, so sometimes we will need, for example, to review a game, like have a human look at it before somebody gets banned. And this means you can meet somebody, if you can actually meet a real cheater, you'll report him, and there will go some time, you'll meet him again, and then he gets banned later. It's not instantaneous. We do our best. I mean, I'm really like every day putting quite a few hours in hunting down the guys that are not automatically detected. So, and I can say also when we review games manually, it's very obvious to us when somebody's cheating. It's not something that's like maybe not. I can't get into details. Of course, like cheaters would love to hear exactly what I'm looking for. So, and we always have two pairs of eyes. It's not just me who decides I don't like this guy. Like there's two pairs of eyes, or sometimes I get Splixen to look at it. I get also my colleague Reto.Gargamel, and we have two guys confirming what we're looking at, and usually there's never any doubt. I mean, there's almost never any doubt. And when there's a doubt, then we don't ban. We are not going to ban somebody when you're like, not sure. We're going to review maybe later again to see if we can catch the guy really red-handed. And so, because of I mean, I have quite a lot of mileage looking at cheaters and looking at the game through their eyes. For example, when people go like, oh, this guy's got a lot of headshots. I would just say, like, as a side note, in my experience, most aimbots, they don't aim for the head. So most aimbots, because of bullet drop in our game, so they will tend to hit. They will hit from the chest down. So most aimbot users, they'll go tack tack tack. They'll hit a guy a couple of times before he goes down. So it's not even an indication when you're experiencing it from as the target. It's very hard to actually know if you're getting hit by a cheater. It's not something you can just go like. And why you may think that people are cheating, there's many things that might lead you to assume that somebody is cheating. You may actually have a high ping, you may have lag that will make everything seem to happen with a weird delay. Like, hey, I shot him and he didn't die, and you will, for example, because the game's hit detection is server based. So if you lag, you pay for it. We don't penalize the guy who has the better ping. We penalize the guy with the worst ping. So we're basically, if you shoot and your basically communication with the server is too late, you may on your side, on the client side, see the shot animation and think I got him, and then no, he got you first. That's not cheating. That's you're lagging. Unfortunately, that's something that will happen sometimes if you join games with a very high ping. It's not something that happens all the time. It's almost impossible to eliminate completely. I think we went really in detail about
maybe
that.
We should do another.
We could explain that again later.
It's something that it is very hard to understand why it is like that, but it has to do with the speed of light.
And it's more fair. It's actually more fair like that.
It's more like it has a. Physics have a flaw, and we just need to make sure we have to decide where do we put the
burden, right?
The burden, and it has to be put somewhere.
Yeah, and another reason why people often assume like that there is something fishy going on is the death cam. Guy shoots you, then retreats behind a wall, climbs up the stairs, and then the death cam looks at the ceiling. The death cam looks at a wall, and you think I've been shot through a wall. Not the case. I mean, you cannot shoot people through walls. The server will not allow the bullet to travel through a wall. It will not. The hit detection will not let this happen. And this is not something you can fake. You can't.
Again, the server confirmation. The server confirms the whole physics thing.
Yeah,
it has to do with all the 30 versus 30 players, and we're getting back into this. That the server actually does a lot of the calculation on the game and validates that it's correct before sending it back.
So there might be a delay also sometimes.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on the server that we need to do on the server. Otherwise, it would be really, really easy to make a cheat for the game. Because most of all of the important calculations happens on the server, it makes it very hard to make cheats. Actually, it has to be some other.
Oh, and I forgot the third.
At least not switching off the physics and just shooting through walls and all that stuff.
Why not? Let's switch everything off.
No, but you could, the whole thing was if it was detected on the client side, you could do all those crazy things. So.
No, that's right. But that's actually something I was going to get into later. I'm almost done with my checklist here.
No, it's fine.
I think
it's interesting.
My reason number 3 why you might think somebody is cheating is actually that's the one that people don't want to hear. Your opponent plays 16 hours a day. That's also the reason why some guys get reported all the time is because they're always there. They're always there. The more time they spend playing, the better they get. The more people they kill, the more people go like, this guy's too good. And it's just it creates some guys are really like up there in skill, and that's just the way it is. There's some guys that are at the end of the bell curve in terms of scores. So lastly, I can tell you, like as we were saying, cheats only modify the game client side. So a typical cheat will take whatever's going on your machine and try to mess with it. So this, by way of consequence, means a cheat cannot make you shoot through walls. It cannot make you turn invisible. It cannot make you teleport. It cannot hack your health. So you can't get more health points or take less damage because of a cheat. That is not your client saying what's going on. It's really the server deciding what health you have. And lastly, that's one I wanted to, it's been a while since I heard about any of that, but you can't hack gold. So we make damn sure of that. So if you ever come across anybody claiming to have a cheat that hacks gold, get unlimited free gold over here. Unless you really feel like completing an infinite survey and then have malware installed on your computer and then have your account taken over by some guy in Nigeria, you might want to stay away from those.
If it was possible, we would instantly discover it, because obviously we have daily.
We look at the economy of the game.
Yeah, we look at the economy of the game, and obviously if somebody just suddenly had a huge spike in gold income, we would say, oh, what's going on there?
Yeah,
and we will look at it.
So there's not something that just can like stealthily be pulled off like la 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 la. I'll just have infinity money. Who's gonna know?
The server knows. No.
So, okay, that's my bit. Thank you for tonight.
That's interesting.
I'm up, but
more questions for him, please.
Let me do some of the work. Next one. I suppose I should say.
Actually, one thing.
Yep.
We have. Can we get the big picture up here? We have. I just need to make sure that. Wumbus is mentioned here for sending us a ton of chocolate.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Sure. I'll test one.
Yeah, it's great. Good.
The name sounds familiar. Is that something? It's a reference to William S. Burroughs, I think. It's a reference to Naked Lunch, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he can confirm that in the chat.
It's a she.
No,
it's one of the.
He can confirm that.
He's been playing the game for
thanks
ages.
for the chocolate.
So he's certainly trying to get a hoodie or something from Splexen, since he sent all the chocolate.
Nom nom nom. Danke. Next question comes from somebody with I think it's a Chinese name, Sang Xiaoyi. I think it's Sang Xiaoyi.
What?
That name.
Oh, there we are.
When you have that order of consonants, I think is. Is it possible to change the display color of cities captured by the factions in the real-time strategy map? Explanation, more specifically, the Soviet and German colors, brown and purple, are not that easy to distinguish because, in contrast to the US light green, which you can easily spot on the map. Totally agree with that one. They're rather dark in the background.
I think it was we changed it a while ago. There was a debate on whether these settings or these colors should be for colorblind to see, but I think we somewhat ended up with something that was equally bad for both colorblind and regular.
Because the deal with if you're colorblind, you can't. Usually you can't tell between blue and green?
Red and green.
Red and green.
Usually, but I think there's like 50 different versions of the color blindness.
Right.
But the most common one would be red and green that you...
Oh, hence the problem with traffic lights. Traffic lights are...
But
you have to remember which one is which.
So, but it would definitely... I would ask this would probably be one for the UI guys. I think, as far as I remember, that those colors are already put into sort of like a centralized thing, so it should be possible to make a pick different color for a faction, big custom color for a faction thing. But it's so
right.
We'll see how, if it's easy to fix, then it might be one of those tons and tons of small UI changes that comes with every update.
All right. Dr. Hoops is asking, why not limit specialists in each battle? A hard limit of 4 tanks will prevent tank spamming. And if you want to play tank, then queue as a tanker, and when you match, you will be a tanker. But if you queue as infantry, then you may not be able to be a tanker. If your side needs fighter pilots because the matchmaker matched none, what? If you as in if your side is lacking fighter pilots, I guess, then infantry can step up and play fighter.
As people already know, we're not fans of hard limits in here. So we'll probably not put in the hard limit simply because it just shields players in another way in the game, which means that you would suddenly have a lot of players who can't get into a fight or battle just because there's too many players who wants to play tanker, for example. We've just taken the tanker as an example, but the same would be true for all the other special classes. So it's not really a solution to just put in a hard limit. That's one of the things we're trying to make with the deploy system also, so to make sure that we don't get too many of the powerful tanks on in the battle all at once. Obviously, we can do some of it with the matchmaker. Make sure that we distribute the tankers more evenly into the matches, and we can also make sure that you can only that we only let in, you could say 4 tanks or 6 tanks or how much it is, but we can't because the match is actually constantly. The matchmaker is working all the time, so if people leave the game, and you'll be surprised to see how many players actually leave a game or a battle mid-game, which leaves open seats, and if there's resources for it and there's people queuing up, then you would have new players getting in. So it's not an easy thing to just put in. I know it sounds super easy to just put in a hard limit and then everything would be fine, but you just move the problem to another place, basically. So that's why we're trying to figure out a lot of other mechanics to make sure that you don't get this so-called tank spamming. I'm not sure that we have that much tank spamming. It happens once in a while, but it's not something that the last time we checked that it was a huge problem. It's obviously a problem when it happens, but yeah. So
yeah, we had an internal study with some stats.
but we're looking more deeply into these things. I think the guys just put in some updated metrics for the matchmaker, so we can more detailed track like waiting times and stuff in the matchmaker to be able to say something more clever about this subject other than we don't know or whatever. So it's obviously a very complex thing to make a matchmaker and to make sure that everything is selected correctly, because there's so many parameters to choose from. So it's not that I think it's obviously something that some players think, why don't you just do this hard limit, then everything will be good. And the reason we don't do it is that it will just move the problem to another area of the game. So it doesn't really solve the problem. It only solves it here, but then you have a new problem in another area. So that's why it's not us being arrogant and saying, no, we are never going to do this because you suggested it. It's simply because it will not really work. A simple calculation would be to say that if there's 1,000 players who want to play infantry and 1,000 players who want to play tanker, then you have this hard limit of 4, and that would be 16 players that would be infantry. You would have a huge chunk of players just waiting and never getting into a battle. So
I think that covers it. Trevor44 is asking, are you considering to add a new faction?
We are always considering new factions, and that question comes up all the time.
Next question.
There's so many threads on the forum, and there's so many great suggestions on what kind of weapons and what kind of vehicles should the different factions have. So we have obviously we are all set on that stuff
until the next millennium.
Yeah. But again, I can't say anything about when that would happen. I think we are better off getting digging a little bit into the actual foundation of the game and updating that before we start to add new stuff.
Next one, Big Boy is asking, what is the point of rate this battle at the end of every game? Can you show us how each map is rated on average? It's not the maps that are rated.
It's the battles.
It's the battles,
but
right?
It's also the maps. But we can obviously give you a rating in war and a rating in stage then per map or per battle. We use it basically just to get was this fun or not? And then we use it very, very broadly, as in if a map have very low score, we can see okay, something is wrong with this. People constantly think it's bad, but it's not very precise. And there's a thinking about not making it too precise. Is that you don't want to have to fill out a super complex questionnaire after each battle. We just wanted to say, was this fun or not, or good or not, and then we just use it as a general guideline to see, okay, this map constantly scores better than the others, and then we can start to look at what is it that's good about this and not so good about it. What is different from this map to the other maps, stuff like that. So it's deliberately kept vague, and you should just have it as, was this good or bad? And it can be anything that was made it good or bad.
So we're not really interested in why people.
No, because that is such a.
It's personal.
It's
right?
such a complex question that we'd rather just have the good or bad. And
the objective data. That,
yeah.
Okay.
But we can definitely show the.
So shall we take the chat now? Yeah. I'm getting told to.
Switch
over to the chat.
Yeah, well, maybe if our producer guys here can remember that next time we should maybe show some of the stats on the maps and good and bad. It's noted.
All right.
We have something more to show.
So I think that's you. The
Is
chat.
it me? I have no idea if I need to see if this can be. So we're actually taking questions from the chat right now?
Yep.
All right. Let's see if there is anything interesting this time. Oh, Adrian Victus is asking the good old, will you fix headshot only gameplay? It ruins the FPS. God damn it. I need to stop this scrolling shit.
Language.
Sorry. Scrolling stuff. It ruins the FPS part. I don't, if you can see my account stat, but I think I die 70% of the time by headshot. Yeah, and I actually think we as one of those things that we can agree that we need to do something, and that's probably to do with the randomness of the spray pattern or something like that, that we might make it more controllable. The thing is that I would like players to try and consider when they go on about this headshot is that I would argue that a lot of those close quarter type headshots are actually your second or third bullet that kills the guy, and not your first bullet. Simply because most players would actually aim for the chest, because there's a high percentage of wounding a player by hitting on the chest, and then drag and everything would bring the subsequent shots to the head. So it's not like a clean headshot type thing. It's simply just that the second or third shot hit the head, and in that respect, it would kill you if it hit you in the chest as well. So it's the way I look at it. It's probably just the annoying thing that you say, okay, you got a headshot, but you could argue that is it really a headshot if it's the third or second or third shot, or is it because it's the
very
kill?
philosophical, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to consider. I think if we
would it be less humiliating to be killed by 3 bullets to the body?
I was actually suggesting at some point that if you rename the headshot to be only a headshot if it's a killing, like a one-shot kill in the head, then it would be something entirely different. But if it was just like a killing shot that actually the last shot hit you in the head, and it wouldn't matter if it hit you in the chest because you only had 10 hit points left anyway. Is it just the wording that gets people annoyed, or is it something is it the first shot that's always the headshot, and is that the problem? Because that sounds weird. Because then it shouldn't have anything to do with the spray pattern, because if that's completely randomized, and you shoot for the chest, then it shouldn't matter. But we're obviously looking into it, and maybe the solution is to just adjust the spray pattern to be more controllable or something. But I think it would be interesting to think a little about the amount of hit points that you have left after getting 2 shots to the chest, and then it probably don't really count as a headshot, right? Headshot is 1 shot. And not or what? Where are we here?
I have no idea. I don't have an opinion really on that, but
I'm pretty sure that those guys out there have an opinion on this. So
but exactly, discuss.
Discuss this shit. Yeah. Oh, that's Pavel 1906 XD saying, any Christmas event planned? You have to speak with our PR department on that question. I cannot say anything about that.
Trying to get it to highlight your name on my screen. I can't.
I'll get this headshot again, and then there is a champion head. He's asking, what do you think about replacing the hood view by a cockpit view? Would be awesome. We haven't actually created the cockpits, and the cockpits are usually super detailed, so we actually just skip that because it's that's a lot of resources to produce those cockpits. So that's the reason for not doing the cockpits. Is Horst number 7 again? He already had one question, but can you fix the driving mechanics for cars? Like there's 1 millimeter drop in the street and my cubel gets rolled over. I know that right now we are actually going through all the cars and adjusting them to the new vehicle handling system that also takes the terrain into consideration. So all the vehicles are being rebalanced. I hope that you guys can get to try that soon. Whenever the prototype server is free for us to move it up to, because it is a huge change to the way the vehicles handle, and we do need some feedback before we just roll that stuff up. So yes, that is something that we are definitely working on. That's currently being worked on. So. There is the Hit and Run 2016. The player base are telling you over and over again that the Russian server is a big problem. Is the network in Russia a problem, and why not relocate it? I need to get back to you guys on this question, because I know that we have been investigating it, but I haven't heard any results of those investigations.
It's been a while since we heard about it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm bombarded with tickets about that either. So I'm thinking it's specific people are getting that.
Yeah,
it's extremely hard to kind of locate exactly where.
Yeah, but obviously, if it still is a problem, we obviously still need to try and investigate. Let's see the next question here. Meteor. Old Luger and revolver sounds are back, or new louder gun sounds so it will sound more realistic, please. There is no planning for the pistol sounds, I think, at the moment. We are currently...
the weapons are getting revisited one by one, right?
Revisiting the weapons one by one.
Yeah.
Right now we have switched to a new sound engine that is being implemented. We are waiting for our sound guy to get back from vacation because all the weapon sounds need to be basically converted into the new system. There's some numbers that need to be different and stuff like that. So, and the new system should be way better than the one we already have. So that's nice. New nice editor for doing the sound. So I would expect better sounds to be in the pipeline. Let's see. Oh, Deaf Guy is saying, hello there. Can you explain why there aren't any flags in the game? I mean, national flags. If there's a problem with the German flag, you can always just change it. There is other online World War II game called Day of Defeat. And what they did was replace the swastika with the flag with an iron cross. I think all the places we have German flags, we have replaced them with the iron cross because the swastika is illegal to use. It's funny, we just really don't, we haven't used that many flags in the game.
No.
So there's no particular reason why we didn't do it.
No, actually, we only use the insignia from specific military.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yes,
not,
yes.
I guess the U.S. Army is not the U.S. flag so much.
No.
The paratroopers have a U.S. flag on their shoulder, but that's about it.
Yeah. So there's no particular reason other than Yarnetar is saying, make paraplanes smarter, and when it's an assault game and there are heavy planes, Germany has like never pilots that are flying, so they always shoot down paraplanes. The paraplanes are too easy to shoot down. It's basically what he's saying.
I guess, yeah.
So put a rear gunner in the paratrooper games, planes, so you can shoot back. I don't know. It has been raised a few times, the question of the paraplanes are way too easy to shoot down. We're not looking into that at the moment, so that'll have to be easy for a while.
There's one.
Cyberfriend 1969 is asking, when will the bonus for US and SU be ended? I assume that it's the
Underdog.
population
Underpop.
bonus.
Yes.
It will end when the German faction will go out of fashion. And people will start playing the other two factions more than the German faction. Simple as that. German faction are the most popular faction to play. And that's how it's calculated. So it's an incentive to try and lure players to the other two factions to populate them some more and reduce waiting times. So
yeah, I guess that was the last one.
that was the last one. Yeah,
Yes.
we have been in a hurry today. So
Yeah, that's true. Also, we got.
next time
stuff
we'll do
we-
it for 10 hours at least.
You promised.
We promised. So, to recap, today we talked about the news, the new update, and then we took basically forum questions for 40 minutes. So if you missed the beginning of today's episode, you can watch us on YouTube tomorrow, and you can follow this Twitch channel up there, and you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course on our own webpage, heroesandgenerals.com. You will find a new questions thread on our news site and on the forum in the news and updates section. And remember, only one question per player. And I think there might actually be a stricter character limit next time, because I mean, there's some questions that are like super long and have 4 question marks. It's like we have only so much time to read them and then answer them. So please keep it as short as possible and one question at a time. Check in next Wednesday to see Reto Circinus. He will be back with another community frontline stream on this channel. So in the meantime, have a great week and see you in game.
And enjoy the new build.
Enjoy the new build
Yeah.
and new helmets. Ciao, ciao. Till next
Bye-bye.
time.